Welcome back to the Sunday Talk Show here on the Arise News Channel. With me, I have Professor Bola Akintenwa, Director General, Bolitag Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Professor David Awurawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, Enough is Enough. Now, our next subject of the day, INEC. In spite of fear being expressed in different quarters, the Independent National Electoral Commission has maintained that the dates of the forthcoming general election remain sacrosanct. Arise correspondent Georgina Ndukwe Ezanyika reports.
The 2023 general election is just around the corner. The political space is already heated up. The recent controversy regarding the Naira redesign, cashless policy, and the lingering security issues have been described at this meeting as some of the factors that could affect the conduct of the election.
We appeal to the President to ensure two things. Number one, whatever is going to happen, the election takes place. Number two, this minefield that can derail the election, the so-called cashless society and currency exchange, he should intervene.
During the season of elections, every policy, every decision of government and other agencies of government, whatever they do, whatever they say, can be interpreted and reinterpreted, either in favor or against the political process. For one, up to now, most Nigerians don't understand why suddenly, in less than 6 months before elections, the central bank will go all the way to start changing the currency of this country.
All this talk about interim government and another arrangement, we will resign, we will resist an attempt to jettison the constitutionalism in this country. So let them know this, in case anybody is contemplating conjuring enough crises in this country to forestall this election. They should stop.
But the Independent National Electoral Commission says nothing will affect the dates for the presidential, governorship, and parliamentary elections. INEC chairman, represented by the National Commissioner, Voter Education, says the commission has put necessary measures in place for a successful conduct of the election.
And as of today, over 70% of the non-sensitive materials required for the conduct of these elections have already been delivered to site. Secondly, we are going to deploy the BVAs to the 176,846 polling units. And the security agencies have assured us and reassured us that they have the capacity and the competence and the wherewithal to secure the electoral environment to make it possible for this election to go on.
Here, the panelists are unanimous that the manifestos of all the presidential candidates have not clearly stated how they intend to solve the plethora of problems facing Nigeria.
Don't even just tell us blanket what you would do. Tell us what you can do within the window of time that you will have and that we can then build on. Because then our expectations are managed.
High-level intellectuals, academics, and policymakers are appointed in a committee. They sit down and they write a great manifesto. That's how all of them are written. They go against the principles how parties are supposed to write constitutions, which is do internal consultations with their membership.
The theme for the 20th Daily Trust Dialogue is interrogating the 2023 presidential agenda. Georgina Ndukwe, Arise News.
We're now being joined by Victor Aluko, who is the Independent National Electoral Commission's Director for Voter Education. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Aluko. Yesterday...
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yesterday, INEC concluded its mock accreditation exercise trying to test the effectiveness of the BVAs, the bimodal voter accreditation system. How did that go? What lessons did the INEC learn from that?
Thank you. Yesterday, we had the mock accreditation exercise all over the country, that is in all the senatorial districts in this country, in various terrains across the country. And we had the mock accreditation exercise in a total of 436 polling units, 12 per state and 4 in the FCT, because we had 4 PUs in each senatorial district. There are 109 senatorial districts in the country, that is 3 in each state and 1 FCT. So total of 436 locations. And we were able to test the efficiency, the efficacy, the workings of the BVAS machine. And it was hugely successful because all the BVAS machines performed optimally. Nigerians who came out to get themselves accredited were able to relate with the machine. Many people were able to see the BVAS across the length and breadth of Nigeria. So it was a very successful exercise. It was a very, very good exercise. And we are assured going into the election that the elections will be very successful using BVAS.
Well, Mr. Aluko, you said it was a very good exercise. But we have it on record that in Kano, and other places, the fingerprint failed. And, you know, your officials had to resort to facial recognition. In Rivers, some of the BVAS systems that were brought to the unit, they were wrong BVAS machines. Now, that was just mock accreditation. If we now have a major election in over 170,000 polling units, what should we expect?
You're talking about Kano. You're talking about Kano, where fingerprint authentication failed. You agree with me that the BVAS machine is designed to check both the fingerprints, and if the fingerprints fail, you check the facial. That's the photograph of the voter. That's why it's bimodal, and that's the feature it has as an advantage over the smart card reader we were using before. That is, if we check your fingerprints, and of course we could check any of your 10 fingerprints, if none could be authenticated, then we check your face. And once your face could also not be authenticated, then we are sure that you are not the owner of that PVC, and we politely tell you to leave. And of course, that's how it's designed, and we're happy that any place we could not authenticate fingerprints, we're able to authenticate the facials. That's the photograph. The photograph of the individual, that's right there in our system. And that's a good thing, because that's how it's designed to function. About the issue of bringing the wrong BVAS to a place, we don't carry wrong BVAS to any location, because the exact BVAS machines were configured for that purpose, for that particular PU. So we didn't take any wrong BVAS to any location. I'm sorry, I have to disagree about that.
Well, it's reported in the papers today that that particular incident occurred in Rivers State. But let's talk more about the deployment of BVAS, which is the only mode of accreditation for people who want to vote. Now, we know that BVAS have been used in off-season elections, particularly in Osun. But this same BVAS, this deployment of technology in line with Section 47 of the Electoral Act, was a major problem. As pointed out, as indicated in the Osun Gubernatorial Petition Tribunal, such that some lawyers are even saying that the people of Osun State should sue INEC for causing problems in that Osun election with BVAS. What is the position of INEC in this regard? Is INEC still insisting that Osun outcome is a vindication of BVAS, or that indeed INEC has issues to address? Hello, Mr. Aluko. Okay, we'll take a quick break, and then when we return, Mr. Aluko will respond to that question about BVAS and Osun gubernatorial election of July 16, 2022. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Is Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still Victor Aluko, the director in charge of voter education at the Independent National Electoral Commission. Mr. Aluko, thank you very much for staying with us. Before we lost that audio connection with you, I was asking you that the chairman of INEC is insisting that BVAS cannot fail. But Nigerians are saying that BVAs failed in Osun, which was even an off-cycle election. Now you are going to have over 176,000 polling units. Now, what is the guarantee that this technology will not fail? And in fact, in Osun's case, there are persons who are saying the people of Osun State should sue INEC for not having enough, back-end management, for the technology, and creating a situation whereby, there are conflicting BVAS reports.
Thank you. The truth is, without prejudice to the issues, to the legal issues in Osun, BVAS did not fail in Osun. BVAS did what it was supposed to do, to accredit voters. But we have learned our lessons from that, and we move on. And one of the lessons we learned is that we must transmit the accreditation details along with the results of the election to our IREV, that is INEC result viewing portal. And of course, during this mock accreditation, we were able to try that. We created a new URL in our IREV, and we'll transmit the accreditation details along with the results to the IREV portal. And this is important. That's the lesson we have learned. And of course, in the general election, in all the 176,846 polling units, the BVAs will do what's supposed to do. Accredit voters and then transmit the result to the IREV. And of course, while transmitting results simultaneously and accurately, also transmit the accreditation details. So there's nothing to worry about. There won't be any problem with BVAs during the general election because all that is to be done have been done by the Commission. We've tested, we have all the BVAs with us that we're going to use for the general election. We'll be testing them in-house. Yesterday, we were able to test them on the field with actual voters. And in all parts of the country, in different terrains, hilly areas, various places, we're able to test the BVAs machine. And of course, what I said, that we've created a new URL on our IREV. And of course, we'll be able to transmit the accreditation details simultaneously and accurately along with the results of the election.
Well, Mr. Aluko, there's something that Dr. Chidi Amuta in his column today called non-ballot factors. And some of those non-ballot factors will include fuel scarcity, will include problem with the redesign of the Naira note, will also include perhaps low voter turnout, which was observed yesterday in all the 436 polling units where INEC across the country held its mock accreditation exercise. Is INEC worried that despite all the efforts put in, that this election may not hold or may be postponed, or Nigeria may end up with an interim national government, as some people are speculating?
Well, yesterday when we had mock accreditation, it was a mock accreditation exercise. You not expect so many people to turn out that it was a general election. It was not an election, so we cannot be comparing it with the actual election itself. I believe that it's 20 days to the election now. I believe that the various issues that need to be settled will be settled by the powers that be, by the leadership of the country. We believe the dates are sacrosanct. That is February 25 and March 11. They are sacrosanct. INEC is not thinking about any other thing apart from conducting the elections on these 2 days. We believe that by then things should be okay and voters will turn out en masse to vote for the candidates of their choice. These things happen every 4 years, and it's our prayer that everything works according to schedule.
Well, before we wrap this up, Mr. Aluko, the big problem out there is still the collection of permanent voters' cards, without which nobody can vote. And across the country, there are many Nigerians still saying they have not been able to get their voters' cards, that INEC ad hoc officials are not cooperating, that there is a lot of corruption in the issuance process, and yet INEC tells us that about 79% of registered voters have collected their PVCs. Where are these people constituting 79%? If the evidence before our eyes at various local government centers is anything to go by?
Well, the truth is that we had an existing register of voters that had 84 million we used in 2019. All we did during the continuous voter registration was to give opportunity to people who didn't register before, and about 9.4 million Nigerians registered afresh, successfully did so. We also give opportunities to people who needed to transfer to new places from where they were before to new places to transfer. And those who needed to collect new cards because their cards were either spoiled or lost. But we had cases of persons who moved from one location to the other. Instead of telling us that they needed to transfer, they went and registered afresh. Or people who lost their cards or their cards were defaced, instead of telling us so that they won't have to register afresh, they went and registered afresh. Such persons, we did not print any cards for them. Everybody knew this. We told the whole country, the media is aware of this. People were aware of this, and such persons, we didn't print cards for them. And we believe that those persons are the ones now making so much fuss about the whole thing. For those who genuinely registered, those who genuinely transferred, those who genuinely asked for replacement of their cards, more than 90%, in fact, more than 95% of them, up to about 98% of them have collected their cards. And for those who violated the rules, who went and did double registration, and who we could not, of course, print any new card for, they still have their old cards. They are still in our system. They are still voters. But it's just that maybe next time when we do CVR, that is, we do continuous voter registration, they will do the right thing then. In our country, it's always good to do the right thing, to go along with the rules and regulations. Those people are the ones that are now making so much fuss, accusing INEC of all sorts of things, that they cannot get their cards, We cannot change the rule in the middle of the game. In fact, at the end of the game. So what we are preparing for now is the general election. The collection of PVCs, today is 5th of February. The collection of PVCs will end by 5 p.m. today, and that's just by now. And so we face the future.
Well, you will recall that still on this PVC matter, Professor Patu Tome, I'm sure you know him very well, had to lead a team to the Oshodi office of INEC to protest that, people are being frustrated and being denied access to PVCs, just days to the election. But INEC, is now saying Professor Tome invaded their office and that he held an illegal conference within the premises of INEC. And yet all he was doing was to defend the interests of the people of Nigeria. Is there anything called an illegal conference within the definition of the rule books of INEC?
Well, I think all our leaders need to behave appropriately and show example to the younger ones. It's not good to just invade our office and start granting press conferences. That's if every political leader will have to do that, then there will be chaos everywhere. But the truth of the matter is what I told you before, that all those who, instead of transferring their registration, decided to go and register afresh, all those who, instead of telling us that they needed to collect new cards because their cards were spoiled or lost, who went and registered afresh, all those people we didn't print cards for, because they are still in our system and they have cards already. And those are the people that we did not print cards for. Those are the people who came to our offices and were creating all those things. And there are no cards for them. And that's why I said in future, if they do the right thing, of course they'll be able to transfer properly, or they'll be able to get new cards. For those who did the right thing, almost all of them have collected their cards.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Victor Aluko, for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.